Hello and welcome to the Weekly Reel Podcast. My name is Ken,
And my name is Jeremy.
and this week, imagine all the people. Okay, that's as much singing and effort as I can give right now. I'm a little under the weather, but yes, today we will be talking about a feel-good movie called If, which stands for Imaginary Friends, which is directed and written by John Krasinski. And so, definitely want to thank those of you who are joining Jeremy and I on this week's live stream. I know it's a special Friday night live stream. We normally stream on Wednesday nights, but I was feeling a little under the weather. You can probably hear it in my voice right now. And my sickness affected me so much that I put out the countdown for Instagram for a 7:30 live stream, but I ended up typing 8 o'clock. And so we decided to split the difference, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, definitely. So we're meeting, quarter to 8.
Yeah. Don't you mean 7:45?
No, I mean quarter to 8.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's that's my brain fog at work there. And we decided to kind of sneak in a Dumb and Dumber reference. Hopefully
There
you
we
guys
go.
caught it. So want to thank you all for joining us here on this week's live stream. And obviously, if you guys are checking us out on your favorite podcast app, welcome. Whether you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. But Jeremy, we do have a live stream audience, don't we?
Yes, because Ken mentioned all the other audio stuff, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Okay, Google Podcasts it doesn't exist anymore, but YouTube Music I think is still a thing. For now.
And
But
Amazon.
if you're and Amazon, there you go. If you are watching us live and in video right now, we are here. So if you're watching us on the show live, definitely interact with us throughout this live stream. We'll shout you out, interact with you. But if you're catching this not live, feel free to still comment down below, and we'll still talk with you for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. We would love to catch up with you. I know it's been 2 weeks since our last live stream. Actually, 2 weeks and 2 days now. Since we were thrown off by a couple of days. But today we do have a lot to cover, right, Jeremy?
Oh, for sure.
We do, and so let's go ahead and issue that spoiler warning. Right now, if you do not want to get spoiled on the movie that we're covering this week, If, which stands for Imaginary Friends, Friends.
I think friend.
I mean,
Imaginary
there was a
friend.
lot. There was a lot.
There
So
was
let's
many
just
of
go
them.
with Imaginary Friends. Uh, uh, Hop off. It's okay to go ahead and hit that pause button if you don't want to get spoiled. But when you do watch that movie in theaters, it is out now. Feel free to hop back in, join in the conversation, and feel free to comment even after the fact, after our live stream, because you know what, Jeremy and I, we have this thing called notifications on our mobile phones, and so we'll reply back whenever we see your comments. And so this week, we follow the journey of a young girl who mysteriously starts to see everyone's imaginary friends in a feel-good, family-friendly movie called If. It is starring Ryan Reynolds, Bailey Fleming, a plethora of A-list voice actors, as well as it being written, directed, and starring John Krasinski. Again, If is out in theaters. Go watch it now. Support your local theater. We definitely don't want this experience to go away anytime soon, despite recent lackluster performances at the box office. I hate how everything's so expensive.
No, it's all good. And by the way, it's Kaylee Fleming. It's okay. Ken's sick, guys.
Oh,
So it's okay.
I got auto corrected. I put Kaylee, but it is. Dang it. Apple got me.
Yeah, it's all good.
Kaylee Fleming. You're right. I have it on my IMDb. My bad. Sorry, Kaylee. If you happen to be listening.
Yeah, just like John Campia's listening as well.
Yeah. Oh man. I need to turn off autocorrect. What do you call it? Autocorrect on my notes app. Anyway, guys, we have this thing called the double feature to kick off our conversation about if. And so, just to remind everyone, for those of you joining the Weekly Reel podcast for the first time, I have a question. Jeremy doesn't know what I'm going to ask, and likewise, Jeremy has something for me. And so, for my half of the double feature, I want to kind of take you back, Jeremy, back to when you were a kid.
Mm,
And so, think about Jeremy from, I don't know, 5, 6 years old.
okay.
Which if from this movie would have been yours and why? And here's a bonus question. Feel free to answer that question for Jeremy in 2024.
Oh shoot. Okay, let me think about this a little bit.
Yeah.
For
Do you want me to
my
kind of list through some of the
Oh no, I got
ifs?
it.
Oh, you got
I
them.
got
Okay.
yeah, I just need to find okay. I got it. My, for myself that was like maybe 5 or 6. For sure it would be Lewis. The teddy
Mm.
bear talking teddy bear thing.
Oh, Louis Gossett Jr.
Is it like is that what it is? Oh
Well,
yes.
the
Yes.
voice actor.
The
Sorry.
voice. Wait, Lewis is the bear too, right?
Yeah, Lewis is the bear.
Yes, and the actors also. I didn't know that until just now.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, basically, I remember I had an imaginary friend that not really imaginary, but almost like I'm talking to an inanimate object of a stuffed little dog, and my dog, also my imaginary friend, was named Marky. So I felt like it was like, oh, out of all the ones that I related to the most was Lewis because he was just like a big stuffed teddy bear, and then
Mm.
you could see it in that one dream sequence. Not I guess dream sequence with the Lewis's different stuffed teddy bears are like hanging in carnival. So that's what it kind of reminded me of.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and that was in Coney Island, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So dude, when when they showed Coney Island and I was thinking about when we went to New York, I was like, "Oh, dang, that could have been us, man." I mean, that was pretty much us walking around. It was all empty and crap.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um but instead we are more doing Mr. Robot instead.
Yeah, we didn't know that if existed yet,
Yeah.
because to let our viewing audience know and listeners know, me and Jeremy, along with other family, including Jeremy's brother, we were there last November in 2023, and so yeah, it was off season and Coney Island was essentially closed, but we got to kind of walk around along the beach and everything in New York, which was nice.
Yeah, so that was fun. For in regards to your second part of your question, so it's basically if I had an imaginary friend
Yeah,
now.
from your mindset now, if you had one.
Oh
Because
shoot,
I would imagine Jeremy of 5 or 6 years old is different from Jeremy of soon to be 28 years old.
shoot, I would probably say because it's weird. I definitely would not. That wouldn't that be weird if my imaginary friend was just Ryan Reynolds?
Whoa.
That's just weird, right? As a 20 soon to be 28-year old. My imaginary friend
Hey,
just
man.
another grown man.
Maybe in its clown form, it would be a little less icky.
That would just be weird.
That's very weird.
Shoot.
Oh, shoot.
You know, shoot.
Did you want me to go first while you think
Yeah,
about it? I mean, I
yeah,
could
go
do the
ahead.
kid one first, and then you could go
Is is
with
there
yours.
that many?
If
That
you go
many
through the
imaginary?
IMDb cast list, there's like
Yeah.
they're all listed basically as voice.
Okay.
While
Cause
while you're thinking about that,
sure.
I'll buy you a little bit of time. For me, when I was a kid, the one thing I really do remember very vividly, and I don't even know if they even had these while you were a kid.
Mm.
Do you recall this thing called encyclopedias?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
I just want to make sure because I know the internet was it already existed by the time you were in elementary school. But anyway,
Yeah, we still have to learn how to use an encyclopedia,
okay.
maybe in like second grade, but even at that point, they're on their way out, and we're using like super old editions at this elementary school that we both went
Right.
to in their
Right.
library. So yeah, they existed.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. But the encyclopedias, every encyclopedia that I found, I would always go and get the S. Or there was this space book that I would always want to read when I was in kindergarten. Like I would always gravitate towards it because one of my favorite things ever, and one of the things I really wanted to do or be, I should say, is be an astronaut.
Mm,
And so if I had to answer my question in terms of, an imaginary friend as a kid, it would be Spaceman, who was voiced by George Clooney. Um, I didn't know who Spaceman was voiced, but I was like, man, he sounds kind of familiar.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, of course, it's George Clooney. But yeah, I've always was into space. I don't know when that dream kind of just subsided, similar to like how some of these imaginary friends just kind of faded into the abyss
Hmm.
of Coney Island. But yeah, mine eventually just faded away and I just never looked back in terms of going into space. Maybe it was the Challenger
Incident.
incident, we'll just
Yeah.
say. Oh man, I didn't want to get this podcast to get all morbid, but yeah, it probably scared me a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
Thinking about it now and going through this list, honestly, I've always been super clumsy my entire life. And so my current imaginary friend probably would be Keith. And the amount I trip a lot of the time, honestly. Maybe not full on like flat on my face like the dad in this movie, played by John Krasinski. But like I'm tripping all over the place. I'm a very clumsy person a lot of the time.
Did you like the running gag of what do you call that? Cal always tripping
Yeah,
over Keith because he
yeah,
was
I
invisible.
liked it. I like that. It wasn't like I don't.
Who makes an invisible imaginary friend?
And it was apparently her dad.
Yeah.
So, and what I like, I don't know if this is true. IMDb just lists Keith as Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
I
man.
don't know, Deadpool, he
Deadpool.
was,
Yeah.
so he's been invisible before.
That was my first thought as soon as I saw Brad. I was like, wait, Keith did I was like, Keith didn't have any speaking parts. I like the inside joke.
Yeah.
I'm glad both of us got it right away.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, mine would be like kind of a basic one.
Hmm.
I'm sure you could probably guess, but my adult imaginary friend would be Blue because one, Steve Carell
Yeah,
voicing.
there you go.
Two, you saw how. I mean, well, I was surprised he didn't actually say Blue because I mean the character's name was Jeremy.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's
But
true.
obviously his connection was through croissants, and I love croissant. I'm on a
Mm.
croissant like phase right now. Like you say croissants, I'll be like, ooh, what kind?
I
And
think I thought of you when the croissant thing came up and about the place in SF that you've been going to.
yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to branch out a little bit too. Try not to be a croissant snob. Uh,
Hmm.
especially now that I don't have you just off topic, but have you seen there's now starting to merge cookies and croissants?
I have not seen that.
A cookie
Uh-oh.
croissant? Yeah. We'll talk
Sounds
more
sweet.
offline on that. Yeah. I'm kind of curious about that. I've never had it, but I'm starting to see it more and more on Instagram.
Hmm, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, for my half a double feature, I'm bringing back a oldie but a goodie, Binge or Cringe. Because this movie, I honestly, for this movie, there were some high points and some low points for me, just in terms of expectations, I feel like. there are points where it made me like, oh, this is like a tear jerk moment, and other
Hmm.
times it's like I could like care less. So I wanted to know, you could pick either one that you want to mention. You could pick a binge worthy moment or a cringe worthy moment.
I'll pick at some low hanging fruit,
Okay.
even though they were kind of already obviously laying down the breadcrumbs throughout the movie, the very end. Uh, well, near the end, I should say. The climax of the third act, uh, where B essentially is fearing the loss of John Krasinski, her dad,
Yeah.
when she already lost her mom. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I was fighting like not like shedding any tears in the
Mm-hmm.
theater. I was not ready for that scene,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh my god, no! Is this where I start to lose it?" And I get like I watched it on a Sunday, opening weekend, and what do you call that? My theater was like about halfway filled, but I was hearing some sniffles for sure. And so I think people were um, affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like it almost got me. It reminded me of the end of Coco. I won't give any spoilers for that movie, but it's pretty sad too. But yeah, I think just the slow burn of, obviously we see in the beginning montage her mom and her dad and young B like kind of enjoying all those memories on like video camera and everything, old video
Mm-hmm.
footage. And then we eventually see that she's, the mom's gone and dad's now in the hospital, and we kind of put it in a like this whole imaginary friend thing is at the forefront, and then we put the fact that John Krasinski's character is in the hospital kind of in the back burner. It's always kind of there, but then
It's like something's gonna happen.
something's gonna happen, and they had us for a sec, and I think they did that really well.
Yeah, I felt like all the scenes with John Krasinski were done really well. I
I
mean, is
think
he
so.
favoring himself in that way because he directed this movie? But I agree that scene was really well done. I'm not gonna lie that if it didn't get to me, at least a little bit, but I was watching it and getting a little emotional, and then I realized I'm here watching a movie, a PG movie, and there are other like kids around me, and here I am, a grown adult man with a popcorn and a beer. And like about to like shed a tear. I'm like, nah, not today. I think I'm good. And so
Oh
I'm not
shoot.
gonna lie though, that was a good scene.
Oh my god. Random aside, the because you mentioned the popcorn and a beer. Oh my god, there is the best one that I remember seeing where people were just losing it
Hmm.
in terms of emotions was the end of Titanic. I'm sure you know which scene, but I
Yeah.
remember early on in the movie there was this dude that literally brought all the snacks, large popcorn, candy, yeah, everything,
Hmm.
in some of the most quiet sounds, like he pops a soda like can or whatever. He
Yeah.
one of those guys. I was like,
Yep.
man, I thought it was funny at the time because I was young, but when all this stuff was happening with the Titanic and everything, dude, that dude was balling. and that was
Really?
my and that was my first thought. I was like, dude, is this where Jeremy's going? Was he that guy?
Yeah, maybe in the future, man. I mean, that's the Titanic, though. You
Yeah,
know, I'm like, this is a kids movie. Well, not really a kids movie. I think that's
yeah.
one thing I have to commend this movie for. It's much more. It treats its audience much more mature than initially I thought it was going to. Like I thought it was just gonna be all flashy and colors and,
Hmm.
but it's surprisingly slower paced
Yeah,
for like treating its audience, very dialogue heavy,
agreed.
maybe to the detriment to its
Yeah,
audience. So that's where I'm gonna go cringe a little bit
Mm.
in terms of. Okay, this is not super cringe. This is for okay, nitpick first, not really cringe. Um, I thought the dad should have died. It's like that's just my like John Krasinski. I was like, is he gonna kill himself off again? Oh well, I don't want
Oh.
spoilers
For The
for
Office? I'm just
for
kidding.
yes, it's for The Office. Um, I'm just gonna say, John Krasinski directed A Quiet Place, and let's just say he didn't make it through that entire movie, and so I thought he was gonna play that card again for himself, which I wouldn't have been mad at.
Yeah.
Um, Even though I would have saw it coming from a mile away, so it was more surprising to see him actually live for me. But I don't know. You know me. A good death is in a movie can always like flip that side.
It would have hit more. I was a little kind of relieved, but at the same time, I was like, oh, I don't know if I could have taken it when they just kind of said, "Oh, he's okay,"
Yeah,
essentially. Uh I think if maybe they would have, I don't know, split the difference. Maybe he's got some sort of terminal illness, and he didn't necessarily die right then and there. Ended with him being sick. I don't know. Some, well, we'll see.
yeah.
They chose for the happy ending.
They did. So in a way, I get it. I was like, okay, a reminder: this is a kids movie. We're not
Family,
gonna kill
family
both.
friendly movie.
Yeah, family friendly movie. We're not gonna kill both the mom and dad. One at the beginning, one at the end. It's like, well, now you just have your grandma. Which honestly, they did her storyline pretty well, the grandma.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, if I want to throw some positives out there, but for cringe for me, um, I think when they started doing the reuniting the ifs with their grown up counterparts, I think that mission felt kind of like, what does that mean when they start glowing and all, I know that makes them feel fuzzy and like confident to do whatever they need to do in their adult life, but what do they see like as an adult? Imagine seeing, for example, if you're an adult and you saw blue, I would kind of start freaking out. Like if I can actually see him compared to in the movie, it looked like the character Jeremy, right? Is uh, he could just feel his presence.
Yeah.
Compared to the very end of the movie, the adults can see their ifs. So
Hmm.
I felt kind of weird about that. I like the whole I'm gonna get like a foster's care thing, where they're gonna link with new kids.
Yeah, the beginning of the mission.
Yeah, the beginning of the mission. But now they audibled into pretty much finding their old,
The,
you
the
know,
original the
the
original
original
kid.
kid. But then what happens after that? They just go back to the retirement home. It's like just one
Mm.
30-second meet and then they're gone. So I that was my kind of cringe, I
I
guess.
think it's meant, and I think it's hard to kind of convey the connection part. Obviously, they try to do the whole glowy thing and actually, locking eyes. I think it's really the way I interpret it. I think it's meant to be more of a okay, when you need your imaginary friend, it's there when you have that connection.
Mm.
I don't think it's meant to be like, oh, you actually physically see him, because that'd be weird. It's like, oh, I start to see Calvin as a clown now.
But the grandma like turned to what's her name? Crap.
A Blossom.
Blossom. Yeah, she turned to Blossom at the end before the title screen,
Yeah,
right?
I think it
And
was meant for presentation. That's just me, just overlooking some nitpicks. I think.
okay. I mean, that's
Uh,
not like the biggest
yeah,
negative of the movie. I think there's just my overall negative. It like that you'll hear that in the real review, but that was
right.
kind of just like, oh, a nitpick.
Oh no, no,
Yeah.
I've seen that nitpick actually in on IMDb.
Oh, really? Shoot. I didn't know that.
Just minor stuff like that. Others like, oh, wasn't funny enough. I was like, wait, this is more to be a feel good movie. Why are we trying to make jokes? Uh, anyway, uh, you could tell that I probably tend to steer more towards the positive in this movie. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think let's go ahead and segment right into one of our new segments called The Dailies. The Dailies is where we talk about some raw, I guess, thoughts on this movie, just random ones that just kind of come up. Jeremy, I'll give you first dibs. Do you got any random dailies for if?
Okay, I'm gonna start with the positive. I feel like the kid Benjamin, the Asian kid in the hospital, completely stole the show. It's like when every time he would pop up, it's like, dang, this kid's just like, what are you, Ryan Reynolds in this movie? Like, what's happening?
He had a lot of riz. He had a lot of charisma.
Yeah, it's just like he was a breath of fresh air in terms of like the vibe of the movie.
Okay, I'm going to say I don't know. It might not make sense one or the. I could see what they were trying to do with B, the main character. Obviously, we see this movie through her eyes, through her lenses, and I'll use that to support what you just said. At times, it seemed like B seemed a little robotic, but I want to say it's because her character's meant to feel a little melancholy, and she's trying to get out of her rut.
Mm-hmm.
You see that she's in a rut. Compared, like from her introduction as what 12-year-old, from that, and then obviously before that, when you see the opening montage when she's younger, she's got a whole lot of energy. You know, she's having the time of her life with her folks, and she's meant to kind of be at that point in time where she's trying to, she's going through it and,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So I get it. Like I'm sure John Krasinski had her play, okay, be melancholy. And now you're feeling a little motivated now because you got some sort of motivation to uh I don't know. You got this mission. What was her project or job that she was talking about
I think
reconnecting imaginary friends with their originals or finding imaginary friends. So
yeah.
you can kind of see her emotions so that when now we meet Benjamin, she's melancholy, but he's more, oh, well, I'm in the hospital and like he's just a breath of fresh air. I think he's meant to kind of be that, I don't know, polar opposite, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Inject a little bit of life into this.
Yeah, I actually I like the character of B. Like I got it right away what they were going for
Mm-hmm.
in terms of um almost like a traumatized she's a traumatized kid, right? She basically
Yeah.
she lost her mom early on and now her dad is sick and she's dealing with uh the possible future of what that might entail. So I actually like that direction of how they handled that character and the story. Sometimes the pacing, I guess, of the overall story was a little slow for me.
Right.
Didn't have I actually liked the direction they went with the character.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of those kind of maybe 90s or early 2000 movies where, for example, I think The Bridge to Terabithia is a movie, live action, where it's like these kids are have dark pasts, and it's technically a family friendly kids movie, but in the movie, the girl ends up going missing, and but in actuality, if you're an adult watching, it's like, oh shoot, she died. But there's this whole barrier that kids make to kind of cope with everything. I felt like was this movie, right? She's basically
Mm-hmm.
reliving her ifs and seeing ifs to kind of cope with uh, her experience with her dad. So I actually like the premise of that
Mm-hmm.
for this movie.
Agreed. I see what they were trying to do with B, the character, and she was basically our avatar for being able to be introduced to all these different ifs, because then we got to see that little journey, and like we get to see the reunification of various ifs with their original kids. So um I have one for you.
Hmm.
Did Were you surprised that Calvin was B's if?
No. What do you
Okay.
call it? Yeah, like basically, I had that in my notes too, where it's like I saw the twist for Cal since the beginning. Literally,
Mm,
I when they were going through the little montage of her as a little kid, and she had that picture, and I saw the clown. I was like, hey,
uh-huh.
that's Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, you made the connection there. I was a little slow, man.
It's all good. I was like, oh, that's probably Ryan Reynolds. And
Yeah.
then
It was the bookmark, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so when that kind of confirmed it, once she started like having her first conversation and Cal was going around with her
Mm,
and no one was
was
acknowledging him.
acknowledging him. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, he's an F, even though he's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. I think I was really slow in that. I think it was like super obvious when they were doing the if auditions,
Hmm.
when they were trying to see what their strengths and who they can kind of line up certain kids with based off of their personal needs.
Hmm.
And they did that weird thing with the whole book or something. It was like synchronized. I was like, oh dang. And then after that I was like, huh, I'm sure they dropped breadcrumbs before that. I just didn't pick up on. So I was
See,
like, damn it. I, I'm sure when I watch it a second time, I'll be like, damn it. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, you just mentioned the first one, and I'm like, you're right. Dang it, I wasn't
yeah.
paying attention.
No, it's all good. I half expected, that reveal at the end when B run or is finds the room
Hmm.
where Cal usually lives empty, and then she eventually comes back, and then he's there with all the other ifs.
Hmm.
Like when
Like
he,
Titanic? No, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
kidding.
Um, like, and remember he like stuck out his hand. What was he holding again? I
Wait,
forgot. He was, or was it just his hand? Like
I
there
don't
was that
remember.
reveal that she saw again, but and then it had that wide shot of Ryan Reynolds, Cal, and then all the other ifs. I almost half expected him to be in like a full clown costume, which I would
Oh,
have like been cracking up if they did that. Luckily, it did. They didn't do that.
yeah. I think that would have just looked too goofy. They
Yeah,
probably thought about it. I'm sure they just didn't want it to look just ridiculous.
yeah. I half expected also a Green Lantern reference, but it's it's John
Yeah.
Krasinski's movie, not Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. The closest we got was Brad Pitt as
Yeah,
Keith.
there you go. I don't even know if that's real, man.
I know. I feel like someone just added that on IMDb just for the hell of it.
And they're just gonna keep it there.
Well, I mean, speaking of some of these famous voice actors, like I don't know, did you check out the list beforehand
Uh,
or?
I remember recognizing some of the voices while watching, like
Mm.
George Clooney and Keegan Michael Key.
Oh yeah, with the
Yeah.
booger. What was his name?
Shoot, where is he? What
He
the
was
where's Keegan?
Slime.
Slime. Yep.
Uh, was there anyone where you looked after the fact and were like, "Oh shoot, I didn't realize that was whoever."
Probably Guardian Dog. I didn't know that was Sam Rockwell, the little superhero dog guy.
Yeah, though it was the superhero dog dancing.
See, I almost thought that that was Bradley Cooper, because it sounded like Rocket sometimes.
Yeah. Well,
So I thought it was Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper was Ice.
Oh, shoot. I guess I would get them mixed up.
Yeah, maybe there was so many. I didn't realize there were that many. Basically, all the ifs had like very well known.
A-listers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A-listers. I somehow miss Aquafina as Bubble.
Oh, I think I could kind of recognize it. Like if I think about it, I can hear it.
Yeah. Well, now that I know what the A-list
Yeah.
cast kind of looks like now I kind of want to rewatch it whenever it comes back on streaming. Uh, just to,
Yeah.
I don't know, just to listen to everyone because even Bill Hader is in this movie. Well, I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Banana. You're
And
freaking
Matt Damon.
everybody out. Yeah, Matt Damon. I don't remember Matt Damon in this.
He was the guy who was leading that group, like the sunflower looking guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
He was one of the few that I actually did recognize.
Leading, he's the Captain America of that group.
Yeah, pretty much. Was there any other dailies that you wanted to mention before we
They,
get into the next segment?
yeah, they. I don't know if this if the opening reminded you of Up.
It did.
Okay,
It
at least
did.
I'm not the
I
only
mean,
one.
less impactful,
Yeah,
but uh, I feel like nothing is touching up in terms of
yeah,
that opening montage
that's a
and
high
the
bar.
feels. That's the highest bar. It's like
Yeah.
God tier.
If you can open up your movie like Up, then that's that's insane.
Honestly, I don't know how I watched the rest of that movie. It was such an emotional roller coaster for those first 10 minutes, however
Yeah,
that long that lasted.
probably less than that.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah, and the
that
music,
opening is pretty fast.
that music was so good.
Oh, speaking of the music, though, the music in this movie is actually pretty good too.
Yeah, Michael Giacchino, man.
Yeah, the Batman.
Dun, dun, dun. No, just kidding. But yeah, I'll mention that a little bit in this next segment on when it's my
Okay.
turn. And this segment's called The Real Review. Jeremy, go ahead and give yours.
Okay, so my real review didn't write this one down, so whatever. um, shoot. Okay, so for me, I was pleasantly surprised that it treats its audience much more mature than I expected. Not just treating us like we're little toddlers or even kids that are 12, 8 years old, like they're 4 years old. So I'm very happy that John Krasinski and the team treated its audience like actual people. Um, but almost to its detriment sometimes. Sometimes I wanted more of that flash and the little magic that was kind of promised in the theater, in the trailer, I should say. Like that one sequence where it's that musical sequence, I really like that. For some reason, I wanted more of that energy when B was going around um, with the ifs. That being said, I still think that there's plenty of heart wrenching moments in this movie. It just takes some time to get there. So I'm going to give If a 1770 out of 3,000, a 59%.
Ooh, that's a little lower than I thought you would go.
Yeah.
Less than fresh. It's like
Just
almost
slightly.
there. And
Yeah,
then
almost. Like a bubble.
yeah, it was starting to look a little pruny.
It honestly, this movie started off when I ended the movie, probably like a 70 or something. But the more I thought about it, I was like, it's getting lower and lower. I'm kind of forgetting what happened in the movie.
Mm.
So I felt like maybe I didn't like it as much as I thought.
Oh, interesting. I didn't mention it in my real review. You'll see. I actually like the slow burn part.
Hmm.
Uh, I think we were talking about Monkey Man, about slow burns,
Yeah.
and I felt like the emotional payoff was there for me anyway. Probably should have mentioned it in my real review. That's what I get for writing it 5 minutes before we go live.
It's all good, man.
Oh man, we should probably talk before, and then that way I could write the real review like right after that.
There you go. That
Something to
might
think
work.
about for future
Yeah.
live streams. Anyway, for my real review, I'll try to get this without too many sniffles. Nostalgia can be a powerful feeling. The day I screened If just happened to be a day where I screened something else from my childhood. Well, stay tuned for part 2 of this live stream. And maybe because of that, If just hit me right in the feels. Yes, If stars Ryan Reynolds, John Krasinski, and an all-star cast of voice actors such as Steve Carell, Matt Damon, Louis Gossett Jr., etc., etc. But the heart of this movie centers around Kaylee Fleming, who does an admirable job playing the central lead, B. I'm sure I'm not the first and probably won't be the last to, I guess, compare If with it being like a live action Pixar movie. But would I categorize it amongst the absolute best of what Pixar has to offer, like the Toy Story franchise, Inside Out, Up, or Coco? Probably not. But I did enjoy this movie for what it was, and that third act almost managed to have me squeeze a tear from these old poopy brown eyes. On the I Love You 3000 scale, I'm giving it a thumbs up. Uh, and I'm giving it a 2190 out of 3000, which is 73%.
Nice.
Yeah.
Decent score.
This is decent. Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it. I think if it would have fell flat, I think it would have been lower than your 59 if it didn't land the plane.
Yeah, yeah. I totally get it. It's like that's where I thought I would like when I went out of the theater. I was like, I'll probably give it like a 70.
Yeah.
It just hasn't stuck with me since I watched it. I think is the main thing.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
because I did hear some sniffles and I myself almost sniffled.
I mean, I'm not.
Um,
Yeah, I almost did. It's just holding me back.
yeah, no, I hear it. It really is a family friendly movie. I think depending on kind of where you're at, I think is how you're going to like this movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll share what I watched before this. I did essentially a double feature on the day that I screened If, and so moving on to the rest of this episode, though, Jeremy,
Mm-hmm.
let's get some competition going.
All right.
Let's guess the Rotten Tomato score for If. So this season, our current score, Jeremy's been holding this 2 point lead for how I don't know, for seems like forever because we keep tying. We've only covered how many movies? Probably like 7 or 8. I don't even know. I've lost count
Yeah.
already.
It's been a
But
while.
we've doled out 14 points because we keep tying. Our current score for season 7 is 8-6. Jeremy's up. So, Jeremy, what are you guessing for the Rotten Tomato score for If?
Okay, I am guessing an 81%.
Ooh, that's a
You know,
pretty big spread between
yeah.
your
My
real review and your guess.
yeah, because I feel like I would, even though I gave it a low score for my real review, I could see this movie as I would gladly like show my kids this movie where
Yeah.
they're not just like, oh, like turn off their brain movie, but it's still like a kids movie.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
My guess is the exact opposite of yours. You had a big spread between your real review and your actual guess. Mine was only off by 1 point.
Oh,
My Rotten Tomatoes score guess is 74%.
74%. Okay, so I have the score here for Rotten Tomatoes. You guessed 74, and I guessed 81, and the score is
Whoa!
48% with
Goodness!
169 reviews.
I didn't think it was that bad. Come on,
Yeah,
guys.
it wasn't that bad. honestly, see, that's why I thought it was like 81 because it felt very. Honestly, the movie looked really good,
It did.
right? Like, um, John Krasinski's direction, his vision of the movie, I thought looked really good. So that's what I thought. It was like 81.
48. Wow. I
48.
got a lot of people that are just
Oh,
disenfranchised, I guess. They're
I
not
know.
in the mood to be nostalgic at
What's the
all.
consensus? A sweet ode to rediscovering one's inner child. Can you see this? I forgot.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah, okay,
can see
good.
that. Yeah.
Hopefully I to try. Okay, I
Uh,
guess. I don't know.
I mean, they kind of reiterated a little bit of what you were saying about how, like, in the middle of the movie, kind of goes
Oh
on
yeah,
these
huh?
tangents, I guess, unfocused and unnecessarily complicated plot.
I guess so.
But I think
I
that, I don't know. For me, the way I saw it was that they're trying to figure it out, like, in terms of the whole if dynamic,
yeah.
whether they can kind of repurpose these current ifs into new kids that
Mm-hmm.
don't have ifs, or if that won't, obviously they discover it doesn't work and they gotta reunite with their original kids. So,
Yeah, maybe I do agree with the critics, I guess, but not to that extent, right?
yeah.
But I think I would have had like, okay, stick with the original mission
Hmm.
and like have I wouldn't have gone that road for that objective. Yeah.
Wow, but 48%, that was really low. Even though I don't agree with it, turns out it was in my favor. Took the point.
You did take the point.
I think this is the first week that you didn't get any points in like freaking 2 or 3 months, it seems like.
I think
So
so.
you were on that hot streak. But current score, we've tightened it up a little bit. We've cut the lead in half. It's now 8-7 heading into next week. And speaking of next week, what are we covering?
Yeah, next week we are going to be watching a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. So that's going to be the origin story of the warrior Furiosa before she meets Mad Max in Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. So I just said Furiosa and Mad Max like a ton right there. Because I was trying not to spoil myself again. So I'm glad IMDb didn't spoil me this time. It's like, okay, thank goodness. It's a prequel to Mad Max.
This title reminds me of Glass Onion,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Knives Out thing, and I just wanted to mention that because that I don't know if you saw. This is kind of random, but they're about to make a third one.
Oh, Glass, Knives
Knives
Out.
Out. Yeah, they're making
Huh?
a third Knives Out.
Are
So
they gonna call it a Glass Onion story?
no, it's actually I think related to I didn't do full research on it, but someone in the comments related it to a U2 song. I don't know if that's
Hmm.
actually accurate or not. I have to fact check that. So take that with a grain of salt, but it might be similar to how Glass Onion was based off of a Beatles song.
Oh, see, I like if it was just called Furiosa and nothing after that. Like,
Right.
just
Same
leave it.
with a glass onion. If it was just Glass Onion, I would have been I guess better with that instead of a whole Knife's Tale mystery or whatever they called it.
Yeah, yeah. Nitpicks. If the movie's good, it's good.
Yeah. But yes, Furiosa Mad Max Sagas. I mean, we're live streaming right now on a Friday, a rare Friday. I don't think we've ever done a Friday recording or live stream,
Hmm.
but it's out now. So go watch it now so that you can join the conversation next Wednesday, which is May 29th.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
May 29th.
speaking of live streams, Jeremy, where can they watch our live streams of Furiosa and future episodes?
So if you're not already watching us live, you can always find our live streams and the recordings and all that stuff on YouTube. And that's going to be the Weekly Reel podcast on YouTube. And so
Yes.
go ahead and subscribe. Click the bell notification to make sure that you figure out the time, whether it's 7:30, Pacific time, or quarter to 8 Pacific time. It could change. So definitely make that notification that bell to
7:45.
over there. Yeah, seven
Yeah.
forty-five. Right.
No, quarter to 8. Quarter to
Okay.
8. Yeah. But yeah, subscribe to that YouTube channel of ours. We need the subscribers. We would love to be able to interact with you guys. On Instagram, follow us at Weekly Reel. There we have clips from our main live stream show on whatever movie that we're covering on a given week. We also put links to our YouTube full episodes as well as our audio podcast links such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., etc. Also, follow us on TikTok at Weekly Reel Pod. There we have our real reviews, and most of all, I think the thing that I'm most proud of on the TikTok is our soup du jour edited videos because they, I try to spice them up just a little bit, just to kind of give a little bit more of a visual representation to what we have going on right here and there. So, I mean, if we could do live graphics, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that
But
would be cool.
that would be pretty cool. I mean, we'd have to hire someone, but we have no money.
Yeah. So subscribe.
So subscribe and hey, sponsor us.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like HBO, or not HBO, sorry, Max. I keep forgetting.
Max, so that you can watch Mad Max Fury Road on there before you watch
Exactly.
Furiosa.
I know we're unfortunately still not sponsored, but hey, Max, come on, do
There
your
you
thing.
go.
Oh man, but yes, at Weekly Real Pod is where we put those TikToks. But Jeremy, you know what? This is just part 1 of this live stream. We do have a part 2. So if you're on this live stream now, stay tuned for part 2. We will be talking about Ryan Reynolds, and we will be revealing our top 5 Ryan Reynolds movies. If you are checking us out on your favorite podcast app or basically the full episode on YouTube, just want to remind everyone that to check out last week's episode 120, which was on The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy, unfortunately, did not do well in the box office. So not only is it still in movie theaters, but it's out available to rent.
That's insane.
On digital right now. So you can watch it at home. There's no excuse to not watch The Fall Guy. You can rent it at the comfort of your own home. I think it's available on Apple, Amazon, wherever you rent movies. Rent that now, watch it, then check out episode 120. That's available now on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast app. And then, as Jeremy mentioned just now, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga is currently out in theaters. And check out next week's live stream on May 29th. And so, again, for those of you hang tight on the live stream, part 2's coming your way. But for everyone else, we'll see you next week.